So we are back live on the Chef Pearl Nutrition Facebook page with a Tuesday live cooking demo. Today we are keeping on with kind of the last few demos that we did were very focused on make ahead meals, and we were focusing a lot on breakfast, and we're going to kind of stay in that make ahead arena because I think that that is something that everybody can benefit from. And we are going to be making egg frittata muffins. So if that sounds a little weird, and egg muffin sounds a little weird to you, although it kind of sounds like an egg McMuffin, so I guess we're kind of used to to egg muffins. But you will see what I'm talking about in just a minute as we get started here. Okay, so if you've been hanging around with me for a little while, you probably know by now that I love frittatas. We've made them a few times. They've been in my ebooks. I love frittatas because they're super nutritious for one thing, right? So eggs have kind of gotten like a bad rap in the past because of cholesterol and all of that, but recent science and research and studies tell us that the health benefits of eggs really are more beneficial than any potential negatives, and they really don't see that kind of negative connection with the cholesterol in eggs to the cholesterol in your blood. So that's kind of been debunked, and it's good because the good parts of eggs are really great. So there's a lot of really great health benefits to eggs, and mostly in the yolk, right? And so when we've typically been avoiding egg yolks in the past, we're missing out on all these really great nutrients that are in the egg yolk. So there's a ton of vitamins and minerals in there. There's something, a nutrient called choline that's in the egg yolk that is a hard nutrient to come by in food, and eggs happen to be a really great source of that choline, and that is a great nutrient for brain health. So frittatas are based in eggs, right? So eggs is the kind of base for our frittata, and then they're really great because they're super versatile and adaptable to whatever you want to toss into them. So they're really just like a good vessel for any sorts of veggies that you have around, for different kinds of herbs and spices. You can really play around with frittatas however you want. And you can mix around with you putting raw vegetables and some cooked vegetables. So it can be a great thing to do towards the end of the week when maybe you have some veggies left on hand that either are cooked or raw and need to get used up. Throw them into a frittata, and it's a great way to use up a bunch of veggies at once. What we're doing a little bit different here with the frittata is we are making it into a sort of cute little to-go little package by making the frittata small in a muffin tin. So we're essentially making a bunch of mini frittatas instead of one big one. Now, even a big frittata is still very preppable. It's still something that you can make ahead and wrap up in individual pieces and take on the go. So you certainly can still do that with a regular frittata. But these muffins are a really simple way to throw it together, and can be a great way also if you have some different food preferences in your household and you don't want to make just one big frittata filled, and somebody likes broccoli and somebody hates broccoli and somebody likes pepper but somebody hates pepper. Doing these little muffins can actually be a really fun kind of make your own thing. If you have kids at home, that could be really fun to kind of make your own and put in your own frittata fillings. So these muffins are just really kind of fun, and definitely something that you can make ahead. And eggs are totally breakfast, lunch, or dinner acceptable, and also these could be great for a snack. So you can make them ahead to have for any meal that you need. So all we need to make our frittata is just a base of eggs, right? So I like for these, for the muffin tin frittatas that we're making, I like to whisk up the eggs in a measuring cup that has a spout like this, because we're going to need to pour the egg mixture into each muffin tin. So versus, a regular big frittata where we're pouring everything into one pan or one dish, with the muffin tin, we're pouring the egg mixture into each individual muffin tin. So using a measuring cup that has a spout actually makes it a lot easier to pour it. It makes it a lot less messy than trying to pour it out of a big bowl. So we're going to whisk up our eggs in a measuring cup here. Now I only have a 6-cup, and I'll bring it over here in a second. I made some already, so I'll be able to show you the end product. I only have a 6-cup muffin tin, so that's what I'm going to be using. But of course you can make a full dozen and just double what I'm doing here. So for the 6-cup muffin tin, we only need like 4 to 5 eggs. Okay, so you don't even, I tried it with 6 and it was too much. Which actually is why I have like 1 egg left in here. So 6 was a little bit too much. So you really only need like 4 if they're bigger eggs, or 5 if they're smaller eggs. So like 4 to 5 eggs. So for a whole dozen, you want like 8 to 10 eggs. You don't need a full dozen eggs for the dozen tray. We want like 8 to 10 eggs to make a dozen of these frittata muffins. So we are just gonna crack the eggs up in here. And then we're going to add a little splash of half and half. You could use any kind of milk, but the more fat that's in the milk, the creamier, of course, it is, right? So I like to use half and half because it's a little bit creamier, so it actually makes the frittata itself a little bit fluffier. But you could use any kind of milk. So I have now in here 5 eggs with my extra one that was in here, and I'm just going to add 2 tablespoons of half and half. So for a full dozen of these frittata muffins, you would want 8 to 10 eggs and a 1/4 cup of whatever kind of milk you're going to use. We're going to whisk that up, and we're going to add in there a nice pinch of salt, you want like a 1/4 teaspoon to a 1/2 teaspoon, and a nice pinch of black pepper too. This is all very, I'm not giving like such precise measurements because it's all, you can really kind of make these your own. And here in the egg mixture itself, if you want to add any sort of fresh herbs in here, this is a great vessel for fresh herbs. Something like parsley or dill would be really good in here. So you could add those into the eggs. You could add some other dried herbs also, or some spices that you like. Anything that you like to have with your eggs, you can put it in. Okay, so that's it for our egg mixture. So I have in here 5 large eggs, 2 tablespoons of half and half, and a good pinch of salt and pepper. All right, so that's just getting set aside. And then for these frittata muffins, I'm going to just make them very simple: broccoli and cheddar cheese. So what I have here is some broccoli florets that I already blanched and chopped, right? So plunge them in boiling water for like 30-45 seconds. Scoop them out of the boiling water, put them in an ice bath so they cool down, and then I just chopped them up really fine. So I'm just going to be doing this chopped up broccoli and some cheddar cheese. And we do just want to give this tin a spray. I'm just using a little olive oil spray. Okay. So what I like to do is start with a little bit of the egg on the bottom. Then we put the fillings in and then top it with the egg. Okay, so I'm just gonna put, I don't know why I'm doing this with my right hand, I'm a lefty. Switch, okay. So put a little bit of the egg on the bottom. Okay, and then for the filling, for the, you know, for whatever veggies you're putting in, I'd say that for a half dozen like I'm doing here, you just need like a half to 3/4 of a cup of veggies total, right? Of like your fillings in total, like a half to 3/4 of a cup. That you can see I did about 3/4 of a cup for these guys. And you can see, I mean, they're pretty, you know, they're pretty filled with the veggies, which is how I like it. Because I think it's a really great way to get some extra veggies in too during the day. But if you know, if you want them to be a little bit less filled, you can do a little bit less filling. So again, it's kind of, you know, they're very versatile to how you want them. This was 1 head of broccoli. So I'm just going to take a little, you know, little handfuls, and I'm just going to sprinkle it into the eggs here. So I'm putting about a tablespoon of the broccoli into each of these. All right. And we don't want to overfill them because they will kind of like explode if they're too full. Okay. And then I like to put a little bit of cheese in and then a little bit of cheese on top. So you really don't need very much cheese in each of these. I'm just using some shredded cheddar cheese. So I'm just gonna put like a few pieces of the shredded cheddar inside, and then I'm gonna put a few pieces on the top. Okay. And so you can really do, like I said, in the ones that I have done here, I sliced up a scallion and put it in there. So you can add, you know, onions or something in here. If you want to cook, you know, if you don't already have veggies cooked and you want to cook your vegetables before you put them in here, you can do that. Of course, just, you know, it's an added step, but if you wanted to like saute some onions and then put them in, you could do something like that if you have a little extra time. Okay, and then we are just gonna go back around with the egg, but we want to only fill it up about 3/4 of the way full, because like I said, they do poof up, so they'll kind of like explode over if it's too full. So we're gonna go just about 3/4 of the way. All right. Yeah, so this was 5 eggs. So that was a little bit better than the 6. So definitely 4 or 5 eggs for a half a dozen and 8 to 10 eggs for a full dozen of these frittata muffins. Okay, and I can even add a little bit more broccoli in there. Try to use it up. Okay. And I'll add just a little bit more cheese on top so that you get a little bit of, you know, that kind of, it'll help there to be, for the cheese to kind of brown on the top a little bit, which is yummy. Okay. So that's what we have now. Can't really turn them, but you can see. All right, so they're filled just about 3/4 of the way to the top. The oven is at 375. Put those guys in. Okay, and we're going to put these in for 15 to 20 minutes. You want the center to be nice and firm, right? So it shouldn't be wet. It shouldn't really be too jiggly. They'll kind of, like I said, they do poof up, so they'll kind of like release themselves from the tin a little bit, and those are all good signs that they're done. So check it at 15, and if it needs, go up to 20 minutes. And that's it for making the little mini egg frittatas. These are the frittata muffins all done, and you can see they look kind of funny in the tin. This happens with a full-size frittata also. They'll be really poofy when they first come out of the oven, and then they kind of deflate. So that's why they they get this kind of like deflated look in the center of them. But they pop nicely right out of the muffin tin, and you just get these really cute little frittata muffins. Right, and I would say that, a serving size of these would be 2, but, I'm not one to give you, an exact serving size. If you're having it for a meal and you're, hungry, you might want an extra one. If you're having it as a snack, you might just need 1. But somewhere around 2 would be a good serving size for these. So that's them. Nice and cute little frittatas. These have red bell pepper, fresh spinach, and a scallion, and some feta cheese in there. So that's what's in these guys. So really, you can eat these, at room temperature, or you can definitely just quickly nuke them in the microwave if you wanted to. But they're really, they're really cute and easy to take on the go. They'll keep in the fridge for, I'd say, like 3 days. So again, it's a nice thing, if even like towards the end of the week. It doesn't have to be something, it can be kind of like a middle of the week prep, right? So as a way to kind of use some veggies that maybe now you've like cooked and prepped during the week, this can be like a really good midweek prep to give you some breakfasts or lunches, whatever it is, for the rest of the week. So really, this is a great, it's a great way to get a little bit creative. There's no, one recipe that you need to follow here. I'll put together just the, the amounts of the eggs and the milk and things that I did, just so that you can have a better idea of, at least of the kind of base of the frittata. And then you can really go ahead and make it your own with whatever you want to put in there. And like I said, it works for, a make-ahead breakfast, lunch, or even a dinner, and also a really great high-protein snack. I think that we kind of always think of, the only way to make eggs in advance is to make hard-boiled eggs. And a lot of people don't like hard-boiled eggs, so this can be a really great alternative to something like that. Bill said, how about freezing them? Actually, yes, you absolutely can freeze these. What I would do is kind of like the last things that we've frozen before. We freeze things individually and then package them up. So you could take these now cooled, put them on a baking sheet. Just sit them down on a baking sheet and put the baking sheet in the freezer, let them freeze individually so they don't freeze like stuck together. And then once they're frozen after a few hours, then you can transfer them to either a container or a, freezer safe baggie, and they'll keep in the freezer. So definitely that's a good way to, if you want to do like double this and make even more so you have some stashed away, definitely they do hold up in the freezer.